I will give that to the clerk.
Here, here, here. Bravo.
Monsieur le Président, honorable député de cette Chambre, chers Canadiens, chères Canadiennes, le budget que je présente
Okay, the
aujourd'hui
finance minister is
arrive à un
on his
moment
feet, and
de
he's going to take us through his speech, which we will dip into. But first, let's bring in David Cochrane, the host of Power and Politics, who has been in the budget lockup and will take us through the highlights. David.
Yeah, here it is. It's called.
Can't wait for them to sugarcoat all of this and be like, wow, that's actually really great budget. It could have been way worse.
Canada Strong, Budget 2025. You can see all the tabs I've made. There's a lot in this, Rosie, including a big jump in the deficit. Let's start by walking through the numbers. The big number is the deficit this year. It is $78.3 billion. Now, that's not the $100 billion some people projected, but
Right away they're covering. First of all, the projected was in the 60s originally, and now they're saying 78.3, and we beat the budget every year.
that's a heck of a lot higher than people are used to seeing in a non-COVID year, and it stays at an elevated rate in all the years after this, going out until 2030. You can see the $78.3 billion this year. It's going to be $65.4 billion next year, $63.5 billion the year after that, just shy of $58 billion and just shy of $57 billion.
Sorry, young Canadians, your future is gone.
By 2029, 2030. Broadly, Rosie, this year and the next couple of years, the deficit is twice as high as we would
Hey guys, if you're in the chat, can you let me know how the audio is?
have seen in the fall economic statement that Chrystia Freeland tabled in December, and growth is half of what was projected just 9-10 months ago. Now, you're at that deficit despite there being some significant cuts and downsizing in the size of the public service. There is going to be a net overall reduction in the size of the public service of nearly
Julie.
10%. In this year alone, you're looking at 16,000 full-time equivalent jobs being eliminated, and that will go to about just shy of 40,000 jobs being eliminated by 2028, 2029. In effect, what's happening is the civil service is being right-sized, to use the government's phrase, from its high of
Right-sized.
368,000 people in 2023-24 to about 330,000 in 2028.
First of all, there's no way. Yeah, hello to everybody in the chat. Hello, Julie. Thank you for weighing in. Thank you for everybody who's talking about the audio. The best part when they talk about these layoffs is like, yeah, we're going to be doing this, but then they say it's only through people quitting or volunteering. So they're going to be getting huge buyouts anyways. Thanks, Plan Zero.
2029. That's the spend less,
Mallard
so
Duck,
you
what's
can
up?
invest more. And on that, there is a series of investments in capital in particular. $115 billion towards infrastructure, $110 billion in productivity and competitiveness. That includes some tax incentives to get people to invest in equipment and in buildings. $30 billion in defense, just in capital in defense, Rosemary. There's a total of about $80 to $90 billion in defense over the next 5 years, a historic level of spending there, and $25 billion in home building. This is mostly the Canada Homes announcement that was made a few weeks back.
So that 25 billion in home building is obviously part of the spending, but then on top of that, when they talk about the infrastructure and these other things, that's around the home building as well. The reason why I'm so mad is because we continue to get articles like this that says Ottawa's immigration cuts have eased pressure on housing and labor markets, we're seeing in the economic reports. But for some reason, they can't figure out that if we just start to limit immigration and remigrate, we don't have the housing crisis. I have an article on the rent too.
To give you a sense of what is shifting here, program expenses normally grown by 8% a year is now grown by less than 1% a year in this budget. Is shifting to capital. They're also going to try to bring down the population of the country by reducing the immigration targets. Permanent residents down from 395,000 to 380,000. But look at temporary residents. This is
Okay, again, they make these sound like this is like, oh, this is amazing. We're only going to have 380,000 permanent residents and 385,000 temporary residents. Those are still very, very high numbers compared to 5 10 years ago.
Students, this is temporary foreign workers, a massive reduction
Cut in half,
from
yeah.
673,000 down to 385,000.
Stop! You've anchor
And one
priced
last
the
thing to
number
highlight,
so
Rosie, and we'll
high.
go through any of these measures as you so choose, and this is the climate competitiveness strategy. The emissions
Thanks,
cap,
TP16.
it's on the books to be scrapped. It's essentially, there's a couple of conditions that need to be met. They need to finalize the methane emissions reductions. They need to deal with the industrial price becoming the core of the plan, an agreement on a beefed up and strengthened industrial carbon price that then becomes the engine that drives down emissions as you move.
There you go. The industrial emissions cap, it's going to be scrapped, but we will have more regulations around the actual carbon pricing. So there's going to be like credits being traded, and all of these companies are going to be able to hide their actual, oh man, it's going to just turn into a bunch of corruption around the credits.
Move towards that 2050 net zero target.
They said the deficit number, so for quick pull my finger, they said the deficit number is going to be 78.3 billion.
But some investments in carbon capture, some agreements on methane targets, and a move to an industrial price away from a regulatory system. You're going to see the emissions cap, which the oil and gas sector, the premiers of Alberta, Newfoundland and Labrador, and Saskatchewan have vigorously complained about over the years. That is going to go. If everybody agrees to other methods that allows them to hit their climate targets of having net zero economy by the mid part of this century.
See that
So a 10% reduction in
it's
civil service
impossible
over the next number of years.
You can't have net
billions
zero.
of spending in capital and tax incentives, Rosie. The government says this will unlock about $1 trillion in capital investment. This is what they say is the generational transformation of this budget. We'll see.
Yeah.
It depends on a lot of things going right, including the major projects agenda.
So this is why what they just said is nonsense, because all they've said is, oh, instead of having an emissions cap, we're going to basically go back to carbon credits and carbon pricing and all these things. But the goal is still to get to net zero by 2050, which is, as we know, impossible. The only way they can get to net zero is if by manipulating the carbon credits to be like, oh, well, you guys actually have 10 billion in carbon credits and you have this and blah, blah, blah. So that means your company is paid for this and you're allowed this and that's net zero. But really, it's just shifting of money, money laundering. Who knows, like you guys keep saying in the comments, how much money Brookfield's going to make from this directly. And then again, when you look up any sort of economic theory ever, and you're like, hey, if there's a country, let's say, and they have major deficits, they've got growing sovereign debt, they've got low GDP per capita, their productivity is down. Would you suggest that increasing the budget, making the sovereign debt higher is a good thing? Pretty much any theory is going to be like, no, probably not, because what it does is it doubles down on kicking out any sort of private investment because you're disincentivizing private companies. And also private companies go by sentiment too. And if they're going, hey, the only industry Canada has, which we're seeing, is government spending and extra regulations, then why would private companies, this is what Canada is lacking, private investment, capital expenditure from private companies coming into Canada. Not that we are not spending enough freaking money, 25 billion on housing plus another 25 billion in infrastructure around that. Like, that's not the problem. We need just less people.
Okay, we are going to dip back into the finance minister in a moment as soon as you start speaking in English again. But let's just go through. I did want to just highlight this. I'm just catching up with where you've been all day. But there are social programs that the Prime Minister.
I'm going to listen to the speech in a second. I just wanted to see how CBC was going to prep it. I do have. Where's CPAC? I had CPAC open. Let's get it in English.
Build a website you love with Wix. Where your words.
Our very way of life as Canadians is being tested. And there are times in the progress of people when fundamental choices must be made.
Also, another thing, watch his language. Almost all of their language is based around, we're resetting Canada. Canada is being reborn. Canada is being created anew. Yeah, Julie C., you hate his voice. Everybody calls him a Muppet because he's got like a Muppet voice. But all of their language is around a new Canada, and we've got some stuff around that too.
New course charted for Canada, Mr. Speaker. This is one of those times. Et je dirais, Monsieur le Président, que nous
Mr. Speaker, I would say that today we are also facing a unique moment in the history of our great country. The Prime Minister has called on our country to look beyond today's challenges and to embark on a path that will redefine Canada for generations to come.
Yes, they did, Wade.
Why?
They hid carbon.
Because we believe in Canada, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister asked each of us to focus on what we can control and to take bold, ambitious action.
It's in the strand of Canadians, Mr. Speaker. I have
I just want these guys to tell me, what is a Canadian? Because, looking at that bench there, they're saying that they need to, we need to focus on building for Canada and Canadians for the future. But, what is one?
confidence in our ability as a nation to meet the moment. I have confidence that together we can build Canada, protect our way of life, and empower Canadians like never before, because we believe in Canada, Mr. Speaker.
What? All right, Rob. Rob, that's too much.
It is interesting to note, Mr. Speaker, and all Canadians who are watching and those with us today would know, Canada has what the world needs and what the world increasingly wants, Mr. Speaker. It goes from our product to our technology to our values. Mr. Speaker, Canada
yes.
is inspiring the world.
Just for the Canadian technology and our products, just so you guys know, only 13% of Canadian IP and patents have been actually from Canada, and the other 87% have been foreign.
We are an energy superpower in both clean and conventional energy. Nous sommes l'un des principaux.
We are among the top producers of critical minerals and a world leader in artificial intelligence.
No.
Nous avons un
We have unmatched market access, as we are the only country in the G7 with free trade agreements with every other G7 nation.
Nous avons
Yeah,
les
free
gens-
trade.
We have the people, we have the resources, we have the stability necessary to prosper and to compete in the new economy before us.
Ainsi,
So, Canada enters this period of transformation from a position of strength.
Speaker,
Position
the
of
world is
strength.
changing, but Canada is
A position of strength. They keep saying that. One, not only do we not have free market access, well, I guess maybe technically, these free trade agreements, I always laugh at them because it's like, yeah, we got free trade with these other countries. Meanwhile, inside of Canada, domestically, we have some of the worst anti-competition laws. We are absolutely hemorrhaging businesses right now, barely hanging on, but we're going to negotiate from a position of strength.
strong. We're going to build Canada strong together. We're going to empower Canadians, and we're going to defend our sovereignty, Mr. Speaker. Canadians have done it before. We will
Defend our sovereignty from these guys. You should have heard the question period earlier. There was 3 different people with foreign accents in the question period, and just struggling through reading their statements. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's their sovereignty on full display.
do it again. Canada also
Pull my
has the
finger, that's a
lowest
funny
net
comment.
debt to GDP ratio in the G7, and the federal debt to GDP ratio will remain stable over the budget horizon. We will
They also, whenever they talk about debt to GDP ratio, it's such a manipulated number because I'm pretty sure the Canadian government uses pension funds and a bunch of other, they call them assets, but it doesn't belong to the Canadian government. And then also, we know that the GDP number top line has been cooked anyways.
we also have one of the lowest deficits
Yeah, Mitch, we
in
did.
the G7.
It was gonna be in
and
today's
one
video.
of the strongest fiscal positions in the world. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we have a strong fiscal position, a strong base to work for, a strong base to invest, Mr. Speaker.
I can't believe you're just allowed to lie. You're just allowed to say whatever you want.
And we must use this fiscal power to make generational investment because we believe in Canada. And as the managing director of the International Monetary Fund recently said, both Germany and Canada recognize that in this very testing time, they need to use their fiscal space. In the case of Canada, the Canadian authorities have been very decisive to take action in the context of changing relations with their main trading partner. Mr. Speaker, Canada is recognized on the world.
So, okay, first of all, I just did a video on this yesterday. If you guys watched yesterday's video, they said they're not trying to change the relationship with their large trading partner. They actually want to keep it. They want to keep a strong relationship. And we just want to grow in the other industries. Well, he's saying against that. And this is that not Tim Hodgson right there nodding along?
World stage as a country with the fiscal capacity to
the hell?
invest, to grow its economy, to invest in its people, and to protect its sovereignty. That recognition matters because it affirms something fundamental about this country. When times are difficult, we do not retreat. We
Yeah,
advance,
Patrick, you're probably right.
We invest, Mr. Speaker, and that's what Budget 2025 is all about.
I can't believe you're just allowed to do unlimited nonsense.
Budget 2025 is a plan to catalyze investments from provinces, territories, municipalities.
Anytime they use the word catalyze, know that they are speaking nonsense.
Indigenous communities, and the private sector. With this plan, in 5 years, we will enable $1 trillion in total investment in this country, Mr. Speaker. Enable $1 trillion of investment.
Based on what? They just have these nonsense projections. We have private capital fleeing and almost no incentive to invest inside your businesses outside of what they're now saying with the new carbon controls around the carbon tax. So you're going to get carbon credits if you invest. Well, we'll see.
And I know, although the conservative are silenced in their heart, they support that, Mr. Speaker. Because I know
brothers
that they will
sing.
take the break week to go around and tell their constituent how great we're going to see this country and all the investment we're going to see. Hear, hear. And I know in their heart I can see them. Le Canada est au...
Canada is one of the best places in the world to invest, and we are going to make it even better.
Yeah, it's one of the best places because if you have any sort of EV plans, the government will give you billions of dollars. I have a hilarious story on spending for tomorrow's video.
Fiscal strength allows us to make historic investments, not only today, but also for future generations.
To Canadians who feel the strain of these times, our message is clear. We will not back down. We will be there for you now and for as long as it takes. We will do what Canadians do best in times of need. We look after one another. We help each other. That's the Canadian way. That's our way, Mr. Speaker.
Once again, what is a Canadian? Maybe you're going to have to tell us because something tells me the mixed communities don't always have the same cultures around that.
Meeting this great challenge, Mr. Speaker, requires both ambition and discipline. We need to be ambitious in our investments.
His voice is like a dog whistle for sure.
You just spending.
The dogs just start squealing.
That's why this budget charts a new course for Canada's public finances. Because Canadians expect their government to achieve results. And to get there, we must spend less on operations.
Yeah, the
so
two-language stuff is nonsense,
in Canada's
and
future.
nobody wants it.
First,
literally no one.
A new capital
Maybe
budgeting framework.
10 people in Quebec.
Separating our day-to-day spending from the investments that build our future.
Drop by where, KLB?
This reform will allow Canadians to
ya?
better understand where their money goes. And it will ensure that each dollar helps strengthen our productivity.
Mr. Speaker, we will make capital investment a national priority. Mieux budgéter.
No, Patrick,
Better
you're right.
budgeting
That's
also
the full
means presenting the budget.
The full Canadian identity. It's so funny because, again, I've got all these stories and these things that I'm probably going to put in the video for tomorrow. But they just did a poll, and Canadians said on this poll, they said if Canada were to go into a major recession, but it meant doing less business with the United States, they would be for it. So they are so self-destructive on remaining anti-American that they would be willing to create a full recession or depression as long as it
at the best time. From now on, the federal budget will be presented in the fall, aligning with the construction season and better supporting provinces, municipalities, as well as contractors in the delivery of their project.
Build this country, and we have a lot to do, and we're going to do it together, Mr. Speaker. And what you see in this budget and in this Prime Minister is that we have a roadmap, Mr. Speaker, to build Canada strong. We understand that there's things we need to do on our side to make sure we can build like never before, and this is the plan to do it. Second, it's all about discipline.
Carney
The
muted
Prime
me.
Minister has been clear.
They're coming for me.
The government will spend less so we can invest more. Mr. Speaker, our budget puts forward $60 billion in saving over 5 years.
Hey, am I still muted? Can you guys hear me now? I can see. Okay, cool. We're back. It's so hard to know because some people were delayed on that.
Mr. Speaker. Canadians have been tightening their belt for quite some time, and it's only natural that we put our house in order as well. And we're going to make sure to the exercise we've done, Mr. Speaker, we found these savings, we did the hard work, we took the tough decision, but you know what? That's what Canadians expect from us. We have a strong mandate. They tell us, do what must be done. That's what we did, Mr. Speaker. And
Canadians have been tightening their belt for a long time now. So what we decided to do was set one of the largest deficits in Canadian history to make life just a little bit more expensive and produce essentially nothing.
We're going to continue to do. So let me be clear. We are protecting the vital services. While we did that, Mr. Speaker, let me be very clear for all the Canadians watching at home. We are protecting the vital services that you rely on, including childcare, dental care, pharma care, because those are essential and vital for families across our nation.
Let me be clear. Yeah, I saw that
This is who we
they're
are
not
as
going to use the
Canadians,
notwithstanding
Mr.
clause in
Speaker, and we're
BC.
going to remain true to our values. Et en faisant des choix
And we are making responsible and pragmatic choices to reduce inefficiencies and focus government initiatives
Exactly,
on
Mike.
our core priorities.
called the Government Comprehensive Expenditure Review, we are focusing investment on initiatives that meet their objectives and complement rather than duplicate services delivered by other levels of government.
So somehow they're cutting all of this spending on the back end. We're about to have one of the largest deficits in Canadian history, and they're saving money. Meanwhile, our current payments, most people don't even realize this, just to service debt, the current payments is $55 billion on the current sovereign debt. That's, over $1 billion a week.
Mr. Speaker, we have looked at how we can streamline program, how we can right size, how can we use technology, how can we use AI with one goal in mind to provide better service to Canadians, to be
I can't wait until you guys see the story tomorrow that I have around specifically this topic, Canada streamlining technology and how they can invest and make sure that everything is money saving. Because I'll probably put out 2 videos tomorrow because I'm streaming now, so I'll probably put something out in the morning. We'll see. I'm going to try and figure it out. But the story, it's just billions of wasted bonehead stuff. We've loosely talked about it before.
more efficient because Canadians deserve the best service from their government, and we will deliver.
Thanks, Linda. Yes, Mike, AI is the new monorail. That's funny.
Mr. Speaker, we will cut red tape, we will digitize services and make them faster, simpler, and easier to access.
Cut red tape,
Nous allons encourager
make
la-
Canadians sign
We
up for
are
digital
encouraging
IDs.
the adoption of new technologies across government, including made in Canada sovereign AI tools.
Oh,
through
the
a
Made
new
in
digital
Canada sovereign AI
transformation
tools.
office.
That's what
Because,
Canada
Mr.
was
Speaker,
missing. Because our
we
Made in
understand
Canada
potential of
apps
this
have always
digital
gone quite well. Do you guys
transformation,
remember
and Canada
how
will
that
be
went
both
during
a
COVID?
global leader in this and in service delivery.
Effective
Dolter saying it's going to be so
more
much bigger
effective
than
government that
78.3.
can
They beat
deliver
it every time.
smarter, faster,
But you're right.
and more effective services to Canadians. Since 2019, the federal public service population has grown at a rate which is far greater than the Canadian population, Mr. Speaker. We must get the size of our public service back to a sustainable level that is keeping with best practices. But as we are, Mr. Speaker, we will do that with fairness and compassion because we appreciate the work of every
Yeah, that's history lesson sitting behind him. That's the guy who said, oh, we never said we were going to go move away from the U.S. And that's why when he's saying, we're going to move away from the U.S.
civil servant in this country. We appreciate their service. We appreciate their work.
He does,
We
Julie.
value their contribution to our country. And whilst we do that, Mr. Speaker, we will make our tax system fairer.
Oh,
Third, we need clear fiscal anchors to provide the predictability and clarity to the world and to Canadians. We will balance day-to-day operating spending with revenues by 2028, 2029.
The budget will balance
towards
itself.
investments that grow the economy.
The budget will
Mr.
balance
Speaker,
itself.
This is a pivotal moment in Canada's history. We're going to make sure that the dollar that people entrust in us will be invested to grow Canada. We will maintain a declining deficit to GDP ratio, ensuring that the discipline today while investing in our collective future.
the discipline. Yes, Canada's federal
The
government,
measures
known for its
proposed
fiscal
in budget
discipline.
2025 put us on the right
So
path
glad they're maintaining
to
that.
achieve our investment goals. Mr. Speaker, we will create a business environment that attracts an unprecedented flow of private capital into the energy, infrastructure, housing, and defense sectors. Mr. Speaker,
Those are poppies. It's for Remembrance Day.
this budget is one of investment, generational investment for this generation and future generations. Mr. Speaker, this is because we believe in Canada.
Nos investissements vont
Our investments will focus on our economic success and focus on productivity, because productivity means doing more with less,
Oh,
because that's the
Castle.
best way we can improve.
More with less is hilarious because they're actually doing less with more. This is the interesting thing. Not even interesting. I should say frustrating or angering thing. Everything they say, it's like they're projecting the opposite. We're going to be doing more with less is what they're saying. But we can see the deficit is going to be one of the highest deficits ever. You're going to be doing less with more. Like,
The lifestyles of Canadians. The 2025 budget will not only accelerate construction in housing and infrastructure, but across the country. It will also strengthen Canada's position as a fiscally competitive jurisdiction.
oh yeah,
and one of
fiscally
the
competitive,
best
very much.
places in the world to invest.
Canada is a great place to invest, but together with Budget 2025, we're going to make it even greater, Mr.
Mr. Somebody said he sounds like George St. Pierre. They'd be from the same province, so that makes sense.
In short, Canada is the place to be. Canada is the place to invest. Canada is the place to grow, Mr. Speaker. And we're proud to serve Canadians.
Yeah, this guy likes serving Canadians by being accused of having terrorism ties 3 different times.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, budgets are not about doing everything. They're about what's necessary and doing it well.
Yeah, Patrick, you're probably right.
We're
I
putting
think
forward a firm, fair,
no
and
invasion necessary.
results-driven plan, the kind of reform Canadians are asking for and the kind that's always served our country well.
plan will invest $280 billion over 5 years in capital to strengthen Canada's productivity, competitiveness, and resilience. On a cash basis, this is an historic investment of $450 billion, Mr. Speaker.
Almost all of that money is, yes, going to either go to Brookfield or consultants. I had an article here, one of these tabs, is that almost all of the money that we are putting into the Indigenous entrepreneurs So much of it annually ends up in just the consultant's hands and never actually leaves Ottawa. So there is that. What tab was that? Am I drunk? Here we go.
In Canada.
Yeah, a neat fall. It is an Indian parliament, may as well be. But we don't like that term here. We like they're foreign entrepreneurs. They're here to help teach us lessons.
Because we believe in Canada. We believe in Canadians. We believe in
Yes,
our workers.
Mitch, exactly.
We believe in our future, Mr. Speaker. Ces investissements.
These generational investments will drive growth in every region, Mr. Speaker, and create good middle-class jobs. The kind of jobs that allow young people and families to plan for the future with confidence.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to take taxpayer dollars and then we're going to hire taxpayers and we're going to pay them with those taxpayer dollars. And then they're going to keep paying taxes into the system. And then we're going to use that to invest in the infrastructure. And then that's going to go back into the tax system where we'll pay the taxpayers and we're going to make unlimited money.
Our generational investment will focus on 4 key priorities. Housing, to restore affordability and opportunity. Infrastructure, to connect Canadians and accelerate growth. Defense and security, to protect our sovereignty and our communities. Productivity and competitiveness, to lead and make Canada an innovation powerhouse. The innovation powerhouse of the 21st century.
Listen, I loved growing up in Canada. I love that I'm Canadian, but calling Canada an innovation powerhouse is just not even close to true. Canada is not an innovation powerhouse. That just doesn't exist. Like, what? We got penicillin on the board, though.
Il ne s'agit pas de...
And these are not abstract priorities. They are the foundations of a stronger, more ambitious and competitive Canada because we believe in Canada. Mr. Speaker, our task now is to turn our fiscal strength into national purpose. For generations, together, Canadians have undertaken major projects that have connected our regions, energized our industries, and defined our identity. For more than 1 century, Mr. Speaker.
The Economy Act adopted last June continues that tradition, a very proud tradition. It removed barriers to internal trade, accelerate approvals for major projects, and strengthens the economic union that binds our province and territories together.
The economic union that has... I don't know if I'm delayed right now. It was kind of paused on my end. But the economic union between all of our provinces and our territories that is estimated to be worth, that costing Canada around $200 billion in economic activity because we don't even do business with ourselves. But keep in mind, we are innovators. And Dolther saying, I do every once in a while consider moving to the US because I just think what's going on in Canada, but at the same time, there is a legitimate chance that Canada is the US in 5 to 10 years, so.
We are completing the unfinished work of Confederation, Mr. Speaker. We are going to complete the unfinished work of Confederation and
nice joke, Bland.
ensuring that wherever a product is made in Canada, it can be sold in Canada, where trade and opportunity flow freely across provincial lines. Mr. Speaker, this is about Canada. If you build something in one part of the country, you ought to be able to sell it across the country because we believe in Canada.
So these things as announcements are also so frustrating that they think this is innovation. They think this is groundbreaking, that we can do business inside of Canada, that Ontario and Quebec can buy each other's products, that Ontario and BC can buy each other's products. That's innovation. That's building the economy. Like, how is that? Why just remove the actual rules? They've been talking about removing the barriers for years. Just remove them. Make it so that we actually can do business inside of Canada. Like, it's the same thing. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the whole conversation around the children assault ruling, and they were trying to get the minimum laws around that and the minimum sentencing, and it was such a amazing thing that the politicians came out and said they didn't like the ruling. Yeah, the ruling was the most basic rule. The answer was so obvious. Like, oh, well, I actually think that they should have a minimum sentence. Yeah, of course. It should be capital punishment. What are you talking about? Like, that's not innovation. You're not saying anything special.
Bonne nouvelle, notre
Good news, our government won't stop there, but also launch the next generation of nation-building projects. Highways, airstrips, ports, electrical grids, and digital corridors will define the next century of Canadian growth. And thanks to these investments, we will connect regions,
Yeah, exactly, Mitch.
strengthen supply chains across the country, and create hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs in every region of this big country.
Hundreds of thousands of high-paying, taxpayer-funded jobs. Like, this was the thing. All of the jobs they're talking about creating, if it's an infrastructure project and nothing's actually being created, they keep saying, like, well, it'll allow the businesses to come in and there'll be more resources for them to access this. But if the projects are just like, all of these things are make-work projects, in theory, that it's just using taxpayer funds for.
Infrastructure Fund, Mr. Speaker, will expand possibilities and
Canada
opportunities
Strong
like never before
2024,
in Canada's north, Mr.
2045
Speaker.
from Tom.
We should all be proud at Canadian. We're going to make historic investment in Canada's north. This is a great moment for the country.
Is my mic off again?
And we will build infrastructure in communities all across Canada with the new Build Communities Strong Fund, Mr. Speaker. As we build million more homes, we'll need infrastructure like roads to build new neighborhoods. This fund will help build that. New neighborhoods will lead to new communities across our country that will want recreational and athletic center. This fund will help build that. And the new communities will need new hospital. This fund will help build that. This fund will build Canada strong. This fund will build our community strong. This fund will build Canada strong, Mr. Speaker.
Look, I'm never going to complain about more hospitals being built, but when you don't have an infrastructure in place to staff those hospitals without increasing immigration, relying on foreign labor, I do think fundamentally we should focus more on how do we get more Canadians certified to be working in those and lowering immigration at the same time, because it's hard to outbuild and outstaff all of the massive population growth.
I'm very proud of, and I think the Prime Minister would join me in that. We will do all this by being our own best customer to the new Buy Canadian policy.
Exactly,
it's about
Patrick.
time that we put Canadian suppliers first.
When the government buys, Canadian suppliers will be our first choice whenever possible. Full stop. Because we believe in Canada. We will use
steel made by our workers in Hamilton and Sault Ste. Marie. Nous utiliserons.
We will use aluminum cast in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Bécancour, and Kitimat. And we will use softwood lumber cut in Thunder Bay, Prince George, and even in my region of Latuque.
I have some extra softwood lumber stuff for probably tomorrow's video too. It's hilarious. The industry is finally saying, hey guys, the Canadian government might be the problem and potentially not Donald Trump.
Workers, we will support our country.
Yeah, so Jeff, I actually just read a really interesting article on what you're mentioning, and it seems like a lot of the doctors accused of that seem to have similar backgrounds. That is true.
We'll support our industry. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, I'll give you an example. yesterday in St. Tite.
Yes,
a
Plan
small
Zero.
rural
It's
city
never
in
been
my
about buying
riding.
Canadian. We've got bridges,
I
structures
visited
all over these things just supplied with
Boulay
Chinese
Boots,
steel.
a family business that has been making boots since 1933. I even had the opportunity to build part of the shoes that I'm proudly wearing today with the help of many skilled workers. A reminder of the craftsmanship and pride that make the Canadian manufacturing industry so strong. Mr. Speaker, the shoes I proudly wear today are the same ones worn by RCMP officers.
Okay. I'm glad you got shoes, man.
I know the Conservative would wish they would have a pair too.
Agreed, Mitch.
Mr. Speaker, these shoes have been made in Canada by Canadian for Canadians. That's the way to go, Mr. Speaker.
So it is, I guess it's a tradition for them to get the new pair of shoes, but it's like, I can't believe this is such a huge talking point.
That's how you build a Canada strong. C'est tout le sens.
And that's what Buy Canadian is all about. Good jobs, resilient communities, and pride in what we're building together.
It's all about good jobs. It's all about resilient communities in our cities and in rural communities across our nation. And this is about pride in what we build, pride in Canada, pride in our workers. That's how you build a strong country.
Well, we actually just got an update on building a strong country. I think this is the tab here. Canada Post is now honoring Sikh soldiers with new Remembrance Day stamps because Canada is the new Canada. We're rebuilding. We're totally erasing all of Canada's history. And now the National Postal Service thinks that the most accurate way to depict the World War I soldiers is to lead with the Sikhs. Just so you guys know, there was literally 10 guys involved. So that's good.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has a legacy of builders. We are a nation of builders. That same spirit of building at home has defined Canada for generations. We have done this before. Back in 1945, just after the war, Canada had to do big things. A so-called, at the time, Minister of Everything, the great CDR bank on the boundless potential of Canada to make big change in our country.
I wonder what Canada looked like in 1945. I wonder if it was a homogenous, generally speaking, society where everybody wanted to pull in the same direction. Is that possible?
He was not afraid to bet big on Canadians. Neither we are, Mr. Speaker, because we believe in Canada.
The same Canada from 1945?
This budget is guided by the strong conviction that
Exactly,
Canada must
Patrick.
remain a nation of builders, of infrastructure and of innovation, of trust in public institutions and hope for generations to come. This nation knows how to build. We built the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1885, allowing our country to be connected from coast to coast and supporting trade across the prairies.
Bit of a side note, you know how they always talk about how the Chinese built the railway? I found out that there was like only 800 or 1,000 guys. They only built a limited amount of, it was like a few kilometers stretch. I don't know exactly the kilometers, but they were not even close to involved in all of it. And majority of the labor actually was Canadian labor. But for some reason, the Chinese get the full credit for building the railway.
We built the St. Lawrence Seaway, more recently in 1959, creating a deep water route from the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean. Et plus récemment,
Very
nous
true,
avons
Abraham.
construit des
And recently,
Very true.
we built the James Bay Hydroelectric Facility in 1985, providing abundant clean energy to power Canadian industries and enabling Canada to become one of the world's top producers of renewable hydroelectric energy. Mr. Speaker,
of Canada.
Nice,
That's why
Kevin.
we want to build a Canada strong together. Each generation has taken on its share of the work and left the next generation stronger for it. We will do it again because we believe in Canada.
Actually, you guys are going to be one of the first generations to be leaving Canada a lot worse than you found it. All Canadians do not speak French, land zero. It's actually a very, very small percentage of Canadians who actually speak French. Many understand a lot just from the basic school, but it's kind of like
$115 billion
not very
in
common.
infrastructure over 5 years. We will meet the moment. That's what Canadians expect from their government. They know what's going on. They want us to meet the moment, and we'll meet that moment. And we will build the backbone of Canada's next economy. Our task is simple, but it's profound. To turn plans into projects, to turn projects into
Julie.
careers, and to turn careers into prosperity, Mr. Speaker. That's what we are committed to do. That's what we will do with Canadians across the nation. And to do so, we will do that in a way that protects our future, that also protects our nature, and also protect our core values. Building a true partnership with Indigenous people whose stewardship and knowledge of the land continue to guide us today.
no.
Because we do not just build for ourselves.
Actually, the Indigenous people. Oh, I've got a story. Sorry if that was really loud. I just got way too excited. But I've got a story. There's a story shaping up in BC right now around the land claims that we're seeing, and it looks like we might be seeing political corruption from the Cowichan tribe trying to shut down voices. It's interesting to see this happen in real time.
Because we do not build just for ourselves, we build for those who will follow us. I'm often reminded of the 7th-generation principle. Rooted in Indigenous teachings, a reminder that every decision we take must consider its impact on future generations.
You know, the Indigenous do a lot of these sayings, but for some reason, when they were building their teepees, they didn't want to make them built to last for the next generation.
Mr. Speaker, we will build Canada strong, but we will build with Canadian values. Mais un pays fort, Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, a strong country invests not only in its economy, but also in its identity. Over the past year, Canadians have shown what Canada is truly made of.
Okay, identity.
When global uncertainty tested us, we looked to each other. People asked where their food was grown and chose to buy from local farmers and producers. Families traveled across the country and rediscovered its beauty from coast to coast to coast. Communities rallied around Canadian businesses, creators, and workers. That, Mr. Speaker, is what it means to be Canadian, to stand up for one another, to build together, and to take pride in what we make, grow, and create here at home.
One of my favorite things that they keep using as a talking point is, technically speaking, yes, Canadian tourism was up. But we actually had a ton of Americans come up because the US dollar was so much stronger than the Canadian dollar. So ironically, our tourism was up because of Americans. So thank you, Americans. And thank you, RCB 361. That's awesome. I appreciate that.
That is what it means to be Canadian, Mr. Speaker. And that is why we are here to defend Canada. We are a bilingual, diverse, and compassionate country, shaped by reconciliation, equality, and respect. Mr. Speaker, we believe in a strong Canada. Mr. Speaker, our government is investing heavily to help Canadians get ahead.
I think this is something that speaks to everyone. Every young people in the country, every family around the country, everyone listening today. Canada faces a steep housing supply gap that has
Once again, jeepers.
threatened affordability. And our minister has been doing great work to make sure we have more supply and continue to do so. We need to make sure that, Canadians across the nation can find a home And because when they find a home, this is the best way to build their lives. And therefore, we want to be there for them. Budget 2025 is, Mr. Speaker, the most ambitious housing plan since the Second World War. This is what we're delivering for Canadians. The moment calls for it, and we are meeting the moment, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has been clear. We need to build in this country. We need to build faster. We need to build bigger. We need to build now. We need to build Canada strong. We have put in this budget record investment of $13 billion over 5 years in our flagship home building initiative, the Build Canada Homes. And I'm sure Canadians across the country understand that, because this will be making sure that we build at speed and scale that we have not seen in generations. And we will build, Mr. Speaker, we will double the pace of housing construction over the next decade while we create a new industry. When we will be using Canadian technology, Canadian workers, and Canadian lumber.
Okay, once again, this is nonsense. It is manipulation, and they are asking you to continue to gain weight and only buy bigger pants and bigger belts and all of these ways around accepting that you should lower your calories, aka you need to cut immigration. And that is the only... Canada doesn't actually have the physical capacity to build any meaningful level of homes that would affect home prices. The only thing they're talking about is building basically modular homes, tiny 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. We need houses, because if we don't have houses, 3 bedrooms, mostly 3 bedrooms is what we need, because people don't want to have families because they can't afford a 3-bedroom home. And they go, well, if I can only have a 1 or a 2 bed, I'm not going to have kids.
We will use Canadian workers to build Canada with Canadian material. This is what we're going to do, Mr. Speaker, because we believe in Canada.
Patrick, you're right.
And
almost all of our technology
affordability and
is
create
foreign
careers
patents.
in the skilled trades. Because as we build this country, Mr. Speaker, young people will see that the dream they have of home ownership will become within reach again. That's what we want to do for future generation, because you know what? Every home built is a step toward a more affordable and a more confident Canada.
Mr. Speaker, affordability isn't just about housing. It's about making life easier for Canadians and reducing everyday costs while protecting the programs families depend on. Canadians elected
that's the article
us
that came out
to
today
take
while he's
bold
talking about
action
protecting young
to
Canadians.
help
There you
them
go.
improve their quality of life quickly.
And we will continue to do. The very first thing that this Prime Minister did for Canadians was to cut tax for 22 million Canadians. That is the first thing we did.
Cost of living is up by 86% in the last 5 years, but we did get you $17 a month back on your taxes.
First thing we did, and then we brought down gas prices by 18
coming in
cents
hot.
per liter when we canceled the consumer carbon price.
Yes, Patrick.
Even the Conservative are
you're right.
cheering, Mr. Speaker. And they should be cheering about that as well, because we made permanent the National School Food Program, helping 100,000 children each year.
You can't afford housing, and the kids can't afford to eat, so we'll give them more free stuff, so you're relying on the government.
I know in the heart they support it, Mr. Speaker. Hey, Monsieur le Président.
And Mr. Speaker, we launched automatic federal benefits, reaching 5.5 million low-income Canadians to ensure that no one gets left behind. We are going to strengthen competition in the telecommunications and banking sectors in order to drive down costs.
These are practical measures that make life more affordable today and build confidence in tomorrow. Because when Canadians can afford a home, when Canadians can raise a family, when Canadians can plan for the future, our entire country grow stronger.
Because prosperity is only meaningful when it's shared and when all Canadians can see themselves in the promise of this country.
See, that's the funny thing. Like, this is why whenever people say, like, the Liberals are so dumb, it's like, they're not dumb. They're just evil. I mean, they're dumb too. It's a combination of, like, nefariousness mixed with ignorance and pompousness and arrogance, and it's like a deadly combination that creates the Canadian Liberal Party. So when they say, like, yeah, we know that the prosperity has to be shared, the reason it would be shared is through investments in productivity, investments in the community, cutting immigration, making sure that houses can be built, people can afford a safe and great home that they can have kids in. And especially, like, you know, the only reason that we're having kids now is because we keep bringing in all these immigrants, and then they get all the child welfare. You know, they get the baby bonus, and they are basically incentivized to have kids. And now 42% of mothers in Canada are foreign born.
Budget is that every Canadian should feel that there's something for them, because it's not only about today, it's about future generation. It's about building for them. It's about making sure that we'll have a very strong country for generations to come. And as the Prime Minister has said, there can be no prosperity without security. Let me repeat, there can be no prosperity without security. And Mr. Speaker, in that vein, I am sure that
we might be getting the answer to that question, Kevin.
I will look across the aisle and I look in the eyes of every member of this House.
We do need
every
ice.
Every member in this House would agree that we do need to protect our people, our communities, and our country. Every Canadian expects every member of this House to be there for them.
Yeah, well, D. Hardy, the other percentage of the mothers, it's not like, yeah, they're all European Canadians.
When it comes to security and our sovereignty, Mr. Speaker, we all should be rising and defend what we're proposing. Because, Mr. Speaker,
So just for context around security and sovereignty, this guy right here, this handsome young gentleman, is Canada's National Minister of Security and Borders. And he has been accused 3 different times of having ties to terrorist organizations.
Nation that protects its sovereignty,
and that's real.
And its
not
interest
made up.
abroad.
It just sounds like
strength, stability, and partnership with allies. We share our values. This is what we're doing, Mr. Speaker.
And with $30 billion over 5 years, Budget 2025 represents the largest defense investment in decades.
Mr. Speaker, yes, let's cheer our people. Good news, Mr. Speaker.
What?
We will meet our 2% NATO commitment this year. We will modernize NORAD. We will reinforce our Arctic defense. And we will equip our brave men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces with the infrastructure and technology that they need to safeguard our nation.
So I found out, and I think the Americans in the chat are probably going to laugh at this, only 52% of Canadian fleet vehicles, 52% are considered serviceable. The other 40%, 48% are basically just written off. So 52% of our tanks, our ships, of everything is considered serviceable, and we already have a small overall count as it stands. The new NATO target of 5%,
and we will
Kevin.
do that because we believe in Canada. With our new Defense Investment Agency and Defense Industrial Strategy, we will build up Canada's defense industry, strengthening Canadian businesses and supporting Canadian workers and creating good union jobs, Mr. Speaker, across our country. Our work on defense will strengthen Canadian Research Centre. It will strengthen
government-funded union jobs. Sounds productive to me.
Canadian communities in the north, working with our Inuit and First Nation partners across our country by building dual-use infrastructure like ports and runways to make sure that every community, when we invest, can benefit, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, the Chinese ferries. What a liability.
Our plan will create new jobs for engineers.
We got to get a
technicians,
deal
and
before we
scientists
get into the
in
Golden
sectors
Dome.
like aerospace, shipbuilding, cybersecurity, and AI. We're going to hire 1,000 new Border Services
Staines. That's the
officers
plan.
and 1,000 new RCMP officers to secure our borders and keep our communities safe.
We need 1,000 per year, not 200 per year. We need more. We need 5,000
Enfin, on
per year.
invest-
Finally, by investing in law enforcement and justice reform, we will tackle organized crime, gun violence, and auto theft.
Nous allons investir.
We're also going to invest and continue with passion and determination, as my colleague, the minister responsible, is doing, the important work with the provinces and territories to end gender-based violence.
To answer your question,
My
Kevin,
colleague is
no.
working hard on that.
There was just a clip from the CBSA today that they don't have any actual targeted enforcement plans to find any of Canada's most wanted. So they said, though, in the clips that they would be willing to accept any tips from Canadians if they can find any of Canada's most wanted. So they're asking Canadians to do the investigation for our Border Patrol.
And we are going to support her. We are going to keep supporting her.
Because every Canadian should feel safe, Mr. Speaker. And I want to commend the leadership of my colleague. She's extraordinary. She knows who she is, but I cannot pronounce her name in the House. But she knows who she is because she's been there and leading the way, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that, we invest and that we continue the important work across our nation. Alors que nous établissons des...
As we strengthen our security partnerships, it's essential that we also deepen our economic partnerships. In order to build a stronger future, we have to increase trade, innovate faster, and play a leadership role in clean and conventional energy. Mr. Speaker, trade has always been one of Canada's strengths, connecting our population, our resources, and our industries to the rest of the world.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Trade has always been one of Canada's strengths, connecting ourselves to the world. Almost all of our trade is done with the United States of America. Not sure if you've heard of it. It's the giant economy that we're connected to just down south. So the irony of saying Canada has built wealth through trade while we're trying to separate ourselves from the United States, saying, oh, but we've done such a good job with our global trade. We've done such a good job because America has put their arm around us and said, hey, do you want to take on some of the extra factory manufacturing? Oh, what's this? You're going to undercut us in the movie industry and the auto industry and all these things, and then now you guys get the jobs?
But too much of that trade depends on a single partner.
We are launching a trade diversification
You
strategy.
idiot. You absolute idiot.
By a trade diversification corridors fund to
Okay, so if you guys watched, anybody who was here, if you watched my video, we're going to bring it up again. You guys probably heard me say it earlier if you were here. Right behind him, you can see this gentleman's head right here. That is the guy. That is the history lesson guy from yesterday. He was the one saying, hey, we need to keep, we never said we were going to diversify away from the United States. We never said we were going to diversify out of our relationship there. We want to keep that strong relationship with the United States, but we just want to work with our global partners. He's saying the opposite right there. The Liberals just lie and lie and lie.
expands Canada's reach, double our overseas export within a decade.
He's
which
nodding.
will unlock $300 billion in new opportunities for Canadian business and Canadian workers.
Look at him. Look at this little, oh yeah.
This is good news if you're a small and medium-sized business. This is good news if you're an exporter. This is good news because now you see we're going to expand our market. We're going to bring what Canada has to offer to the world. Nous allons
We are going to strengthen ports, railways,
We'll never
and
get the
ports of
Second
entry.
Amendment here. Never.
We will reduce bottlenecks, and we will open faster routes to global markets. Because when Canadian businesses are competitive and successful abroad, Canadian workers and communities prosper right here at home.
The governor of the Bank of Canada said that we cannot remove our reliance on the United States and that doubling our global trade with countries outside of the United States is essentially impossible.
Mr. Speaker, Canada, I think we can agree on, all of us can agree on that, is the best place to live. Canada is the best place to live. And it's the reason why top talent from around the world want to come here, because they see opportunities and possibilities to contribute to cutting-edge research in our country. With our flagship international talent attraction strategy of more than $1.7 billion, we will make sure that the best and brightest continue
Yes,
to
it does,
choose
Mallard.
Canada to innovate, to invent, and to grow our industry, Mr. Speaker. The best and brightest will come here in Canada.
Yeah, come to Canada. Cost of living sucks. There's no social cohesion. And also, a lot of people don't know this, but Canada's crime rates are now higher, officially, if you guys saw it in my videos, are officially higher than the United States per 100,000. So, yeah.
This is how you build a Canada strong, Mr. Speaker, by making a generational investment of $115 billion over 5 years in measures that will drive productivity and competitiveness. We will supercharge growth in Canada and become the strongest economy in the G7 because we believe in Canada. Let me be clear to all the Canadians watching at home tonight. Productivity is not about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about working smarter. It's about how well we mobilize ideas, how well our workers...
I agree, Patrick.
And how well we can mobilize workers, investment, and innovation to generate growth.
It should be one
It's
economic
what
entity.
drives up
It's the only thing that makes
wages
sense.
in our country, improves living standard, and strengthens public services, Mr. Speaker.
Strongest smelling BS
For
in
too
all of
long,
the G7.
Canada's productivity has been lagging,
Nice.
a challenge we can and must overcome.
Intelligence will be the defining technology of our time, just like
Yeah.
electricity was in the last century.
If you guys want a MRI story, as we're talking about all of the investments here, somebody who I know had to get an MRI. He was told it was going to take over a year. So he went to the United States. He paid, it was around 600 USD, obviously got it within days. And then that MRI was sent to a Canadian hospital. And guess how long he was told his back surgery would take? Now, keep in mind, this is somebody who's in crippling back pain. And guess how long his back surgery was told it would take? 4 years. And I know people think it can't be that bad. He was told 4 years to get his back surgery. 4 years.
L'intelligence artificielle va jouer un rôle.
AI will play a key role along with quantum and other advanced technologies to put Canada on a path
And that's not an internet story. That's somebody I know personally.
of sustained growth.
It's the very first country in the world to have an AI national strategy and an AI quantum strategy. We know how to lead. We have some of the best researchers, and some of them have won even Nobel Prize, Mr. Speaker. We have the brain, we have the capacity, we have the will. We will lead, Mr. Speaker, because we believe in Canada.
Yeah, at least it's free, Ohio. Well, the reason they give people 4 years now is because they go, oh, 4 years. They hope that people forget. And they're like, have you considered just signing up for MAID? Have you considered, medical assisted dying instead of the surgery? The surgery would be expensive. We could take you out of here real quick.
We will become
No,
a
they didn't offer a
productivity and
maid. I was just
innovation
joking.
powerhouse, Mr.
Nelson.
Speaker, through a number of measures. The first is our productivity super deduction to create the right climate for businesses to invest in new machinery, equipment, and technology. A bold expansions of project of national interest in artificial intelligence, in clean technology, and in advanced manufacturing. We will turn Canadian innovation into industrial strength. And we will enhance tax incentives for Canadian builders to conduct research and development in this country. and make it seamless for them to apply to these essential tax credits that will drive innovation and productivity. Mr. Speaker.
I think, to answer your question about raising a family in Canada, I think it's so much bigger than like needing the government to incentivize you to do that. I think, as a human race, and we have the divine directive through God to have a family and build and have kids and all these things. So I don't think it's like, oh, we need the incentive for that. It's like, that's kind of our purpose as humans.
This budget 2025 is about productivity and competitiveness. This is about a roadmap for Canada to be the place to invest. It's already great. We're going to make it greater together.
Yeah, Julie, they all of their examples of projects are examples that were announced in 2022.
Obviously, budget can seem, and numbers
Nice
in budget
saying,
can
very
seem
true.
a bit abstract for people watching and wondering what it means to them. But let me make it very concrete. As I said earlier, this budget will unleash $1 trillion in total investment over the next 5 years. That would boost average wage in Canada by some $3,000 a year, Mr. Speaker.
They just keep making up numbers. It's insane.
That's what it means for workers. That's what it means for families. That's what it means for Canadians.
I disagree, walking Campbell's cat. I think everybody should have kids. Well, every, let's just say, legacy Canadian
It would add
should have
$15
kids.
billion to federal revenues that can support healthcare, lower your taxes, and pay down Canada's debt. We chose Canada. We will make Canada
White.
strong because we believe in Canada. Throughout our history, Mr. Speaker,
Oh,
we have
no.
opened our doors to the world.
Is he going to cry?
We have always welcomed those fleeing the most difficult situations, those who seek to study at our world-class universities, and those willing to share their expertise and drive innovation in Canada. Those who wanted to contribute to Canada. Mr. Speaker, we are taking back control over the immigration system and putting Canada on a trajectory to bring immigration back to
I
sustainable
don't know, Floss. I
levels,
really don't know.
allowing us to fulfill the promise of Canada to those who call it home. Our plan will restore control, will provide clarity and consistency to the immigration system while maintaining compassion in our choices and driving competitiveness in our economy. Notre plan va permettre d'assurer un meilleur contrôle.
Our plan will restore control over our immigration system while maintaining an approach based on our Canadian values.
Competitiveness. L'action climatique n'est pas seulement une obligation.
Climate action is more than just a moral
Ugh.
duty. It is economically necessary. In order to foster competitiveness and growth, we must be a leader
Yeah,
in
Boro State
the
Blues. First of all, welcome to the
low-emission
chat.
economy.
But it is amazing, I will say, because America is so huge. You guys basically do have a Canada inside of America, which is California, right? California is nuts. California has a lot of the same principles, a lot of the same beliefs, a lot of the same things as Canada. But the ironic thing is, in the same way of Canada, there's a lot of Republicans in California. California is huge with tens of millions of Republicans, but there's just also tens of millions of insane liberals who live in California. And that's very similar to Canada. There's tens of millions of normal Canadians in Canada, but there's also just so many insane liberals where basically, I mean, that being said, now even BC, which is Canada's California, it doesn't even have a conservative party at this point. They've got a small one that's starting, One BC, but the Canadian Conservative Party just voted for land acknowledgements, just voted for more land rulings for the Indigenous, and is having a huge woke meltdown right now in BC. So I don't even know how many conservatives we have here anymore.
Climate competitiveness strategy turns Canada's natural wealth, like our critical minerals and clean energy, into lasting prosperity. Reducing our emissions is essential to protecting the competitiveness of Canada's energy sectors. We are introducing a comprehensive suite of clean economy investment tax credits, measures that are already generating billions of
I
dollars
really want to
in
go down to
private
Texas.
capital
I've never
for
been.
projects in hydrogen, carbon capture, and clean electricity.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is the place to invest, but we understand also that This is not only the right thing to do, but it's the smart thing to do. And I want to commend the work of my colleagues who have been leading the effort on that. Because these investments will allow us to modernize our networks. They will allow us to have projects of national interest, and they will also make sure that we connect
Shout out to
Canada
Texas.
with our electricity network. Monsieur le Président, devenant un chiffre de fil monde.
Mr. Speaker, by becoming a global leader in clean technology and clean energy, Canada can strengthen its competitive advantage, and Canada can also help our industries thrive in the global economy.
Talk about our youth, Mr. Speaker, because our youth is the future of this nation. Nous avons au Canada les travailleurs les plus
100% Borough State Blues. That's the thing. Like, California is oddly productive. The economy's huge. If California could turn around and get some real leadership, the same thing with Canada. There is no nation, there is no economic zone in the world. I keep hearing all this. Oh, well, the won's actually picking up steam as becoming a currency around the world. What's the reserve currency? It's becoming a reserve currency. No. USD is always going to be the reserve currency for the foreseeable future. And if Canada and the US created an economic zone with strong leadership, there is nowhere in the world that could touch us. I was running like kind of war game simulations, and I was trying to learn, like, what does this mean if these economic zones could kind of work together? Like, if you had to start from scratch and you're like, I want to build an empire, I need access to coasts, I need access to farming, I need access to people, I need access to all of these things, where would you choose? Like, if the world was a board of Risk and every single AI simulation I did said they would choose North America, they would choose the stretch between Canada, America, and Mexico. But, Mexico is pretty much just for the labor. But just that economic zone, there's nothing from the way we can protect the borders, everything. There's nowhere that touches North America.
In Canada, we have the most skilled and talented workers, as well as the most educated workforce in the world. We can all be very proud of that.
And I know my colleague joined me. We know that it's because of the talent, the expertise, the dedication of our workers that Canada.
Hey, Patrick. Alberta is not necessarily Texas North, and I think we need to clear that up a little bit. I love Alberta, and yes, Alberta is Canada's most conservative province, but there's still quite the gap.
Wins. They are the best worker in the world. That's why you see investment. Every day they go to work. And obviously, Mr. Speaker, it's thanks to their service.
Lots of Cowboys, though.
Their service to our nation, their talent, that we can succeed, and we will continue to work with them to make Canada the place to invest. Le budget 2025
Budget 2025 expands learning, training, and growth opportunities for young people.
Il crée des nouvelles.
Budget 2025 creates new pathways for careers in construction, in clean energy, and in advanced manufacturing.
I'm in Ontario, Brian.
It is essential that we give the next generation the confidence and skills needed to succeed.
Speaker, when we talk about youth and the future generation, I think every member in this House should pay attention, because they are the future of our country.
They keep talking about, oh, well, we've got all these education plans for the young Canadians. We really want to make sure they get jobs. So we're going to continue Operation Curry Bomb by shipping in tons of unskilled labor so that they can undercut the market, so that the people don't have to actually invest in good wages, invest in training, which is another big thing, invest in development, machinery, all of that stuff, because we can just throw 5 Gurpreets at the problem where you could have one well-trained Canadian with extra investment in the machinery.
Through a suite of new measures, we will extend union training, extend the tax credit
no,
to
not
personal
Brampton.
support
I live in
workers
London.
who have been doing work, and they're always there for our people and enhance labor mobility. Mr. Speaker, Canadian workers will drive Canada's economic transformation with new skills and training, and they will seize the exciting and high-paying careers and good union jobs that it will create. In the words of the Canadian Labour Congress, these measures signal a shift towards putting workers at the heart of Canada's economic strategy. We should all be proud, Mr. Speaker. Workers will always be at the heart of our economic strategy.
United Republic of Buffalo. Oh, nice. Yeah, I grew up in Kitchener. So
this is how we give Canadians the tools they need to shape the future. This is how we build Canada strong. En conclusion, Monsieur le Président.
To conclude, Mr. Speaker, the budget that I am tabling today is our framework for Canada's future. It is a roadmap to prosperity and resilience.
Sorry you have to
It
deal
all
with that,
comes
Dustin.
down to a choice between two visions. One vision of resignation, a vision that would scale back the vital support Canadians rely on, make it harder for families to find a home, and leave our country more vulnerable, poorer, and
Ryan, are you
dependent.
American? Did you say where you are?
And another vision, one rooted in confidence in Canadian, and in the belief that by
Thank you,
making
Randy.
generational investments today, we can build lasting prosperity.
I'd
for
love to go down to
tomorrow.
Arizona.
By putting more money in people's pocket, by ensuring every Canadian can retire with dignity, by making the dream of homeownership a reality once again, by building the infrastructure our city needs to grow, by keeping our community safe for our children and our parents. That is the path we choose, Mr. Speaker. That is the path of Budget 2025.
Oh, actually, I might go down to Detroit soon. I want to check out the downtown. Allegedly, people were saying that Detroit's downtown's actually gotten pretty nice for tourists, so I want to go.
I see even smile on the other side, Mr. Speaker. It's a good sign. It's a good sign. It's a good sign. Budget 2025
Are you in Arizona,
makes
Kevin?
our choice clear. We choose confidence over resignation. We chose to empower Canadians to build this country together and protect what we hold dear.
So that's actually the problem that I have with a lot of these announcements that the Liberals make. They always say we choose confidence. Look, you shouldn't be operating scared, but you need to be able to address that a problem exists in the first place. If you're not going to address that, if you don't hold up the mirror to say like, hey, are we doing the right thing? Then you're not going to change anything. And that's what the Liberals just refuse to do. And if you call out the problem, you end up in some political scandal like we're seeing in BC.
Monsieur le Président, il s'agit d'une question.
Mr. Speaker, this is about confidence in ourselves, in our capacity to adapt, and in the promise of this great
Confidence,
country.
confidence. We're so confident that we're doing the right thing. Canada continues our slow grind down. We're continuing to slide on every global ranking, but we are confident we're doing the right thing.
About moving from reliance to resilience and from uncertainty to prosperity. Let's seize the moment. Let's build Canada strong, because we are and will always be the true north, strong and free. Vive le Canada!
Thank you, Sasquatch. I'd like to go to Washington probably at some point. I heard the natures there is really nice. It's on the other side of the country, though, obviously. And Kevin, I heard there's lots of ladies in Phoenix. There we go. Oh, Surrey, yikes.
Questions and comments.
Here we go, questions and
The honourable member
comments.
for Calgary
It's
East.
about to heat up. It's about to heat up.
Questions and
Just
comments.
dudes in Phoenix. Where do I find the American
Questions
ladies
and
then?
comments.
The announcements are done, but this is where they'll get to
Member
ask
for
questions and
Joliet
push back.
Manawan.
Q&A.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the Minister of Finance for his speech. It was as long as a speech by Fidel Castro would have been.
Wow.
Now, the minister says that this is a generational budget. When we read the budget, we see that there will be $115 billion spent on infrastructure, but then when you really get into the numbers, there won't even be $2 billion in new infrastructure spending per year, despite the fact that the deficit is incredibly high. Is this what he means by generational investment? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable
Smitty,
Minister of
that's hilarious.
Finance. Mr. Speaker, I have the utmost respect for my colleague. My answer is yes, of course this is a generational investment budget.
Every time they
I
say
know that
general
Quebecers
investment,
are
I'm going to
watching,
flip to this
and
and just
for the
highlight
first time,
generational
Mr.
investment
Speaker,
and then
through
here.
our infrastructure fund, there will also be funding earmarked for health infrastructure. That's something that Quebec has asked us for. They asked us to invest in
Kevin, that's pretty
healthcare,
accurate.
in clinics, and in hospitals, so that every Quebecer and every Canadian can have access to modern infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. We have answered Quebec's call. We have answered the call of Quebecers. We're doing what Canadians have asked for. Mr. Speaker, our infrastructure investment plan is generational. It will make our communities
They're speaking in
stronger,
French,
and we
Josh.
should all be very proud of that, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Calgary East.
The Liberals have sacrificed the future of young Canadians. The deficit is a massive $80 billion.
We're about to
this
find
year.
out, Sasquatch,
More
if they push
inflation,
back.
higher costs.
As we get into this Q&A, personally, I don't think Canada should have an election right now, because Canadians, they just put out a poll, are willing to put up with a depression inside of Canada if it means basically we get to stick it to the United States. So if we held an election right now, I think there's a legitimate risk of the Liberals winning a majority. Essentially zero, Nelson.
The honourable member for Calgary East from
No,
the top, please.
Evan, it's not.
Numbers don't lie, Mr. Speaker. The Liberals have sacrificed the future of young Canadians. The deficit is a massive $80 billion this year. More inflation, higher costs. The Prime Minister promised he would spend less, and again broke his promise and is spending more. He's forcing young Canadians to sacrifice more. Doubled. Food bank usage
there's
has
no vote
doubled.
yet.
Youth employment is
or,
the highest,
actually-
the lowest it's been in
Or are you talking about
25
the vote on
years.
the bill?
The cost
Sorry.
on the interest of this government's debt is more than GST revenues or what goes to provinces in healthcare transfers.
Yeah.
And today, the finance minister had a choice to make. Food prices could have came down. They could have been cheaper, but again, he refused to do this. The Liberals kept in place their industrial carbon tax, their food packaging tax, the clean fuel standard, and added $18 billion of inflationary fuel to the fire. Why did the finance...
Okay, guys, just from an Alberta separation standpoint, I think this is important. Like, again, I would love to see a prosperous Alberta. That would be amazing. But this guy's from Calgary. He's representing Calgary in Alberta.
Finance minister leave in place Liberal hidden food taxes and force higher food costs on single mothers, seniors, and young Canadians.
Honorable ministre des Finances.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
At least it is open indeed.
Mr. Speaker, we made a clear choice. We chose Canadian, Mr. Speaker.
Ugh.
That is the thing. I know the budget has many pages. Maybe my colleague missed a chapter, Mr. Speaker. But let me help him because we have a bit of time. We have a bit of time. Mr. Speaker, we made the choice to invest in Canadians. We made the choice to protect and build our communities. We made the choice to invest in our young people. We made the choice to invest in our worker. We made the choice to invest in housing. We made the choice to invest in infrastructure. We made the choice to invest in productivity and competitiveness. We made the choice.
Almost all of the Sikhs in Parliament have some level of connection to the World Sikh Organization. So, yeah, I mean, they're not exactly my favorite guys. The brothers Singh, that is. As well, for the Americans in chat, do you guys think after this Mamdani election, that's what everybody's saying, that the government's just supposed to be shut down so that he can win? Not that the Republicans don't have it shut down, that the Democrats will then vote to open the government once he wins. They're just trying to rile up the radicals in the United States and get Mamdani to win. What do you guys think?
You know what, Mr. Speaker? Quebec's credit rating has been downgraded. Why? Because investment spending is beyond what Quebecers can afford. Do you know what else? This Liberal government is doing exactly the same thing with capital spending beyond the
They gotta
ability
balance
of
the
what
seats,
Canadians
Hydrix.
can pay for.
The East
This
is
government has already
very
swiped our
overrepresented.
children's credit cards, our grandchildren's credit cards, and now even our great-grandchildren's credit cards. After 10 years of Liberal deficits, the Liberals have mortgaged the future of an entire generation. Canadians have had enough. Young people have lost hope. How long will this government continue to dig itself deeper into debt on the backs of our children to finance its inflationary spending?
Yeah, the whole
The Honourable
seats,
Minister of Finance.
the spread of seats does not make any sense. And that's why
Mr.
Albertans
Speaker.
are often very
All
mad
right.
at the federal government because they get
Let's
almost
give
no
them
representation.
a chance to understand what we're saying. There is a difference between operating expenditures and investment, and he should be happy. Everyone should be happy
This is a
that we
lie.
will be investing in infrastructure. There may even be investments in health infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. The plan we are putting forward today is an investment plan. It is a generational, once-in-a-generation budget, once-in-a-generation investment. Mr. Speaker, we hope that Canadians tuning in at home understand that we need to invest in our prosperity for the future. We need to invest in our young people, in our workers, in our industries, and in Canada. We must invest in Canada because on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker,
Yes,
we
good point,
believe in
Smitty.
Canada. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Since this government has been in office, they have backtracked on all sorts of climate engagement. There's no more money for
Exactly,
EVs.
Ryan.
They're investing in
This is the thing and why I find it so frustrating that there's no legal accountability for lying. Essentially, this is why. So there's a lot of other Canadian accounts, and they'll cover more of the in-house stuff. I don't do a lot of it because there's actually no accountability for what the Liberal government says here. They can just straight up lie. Like everything, they can say anything they want, and it's basically like there's no accountability. It's not like you lied about that. Now that's been proven. They can just say like, "Oh, I was wrong. That was an opinion, whatever," and they can just do whatever they want. That's why it's like so frustrating that they can just make up anything.
happy to read it. I'll let him read the budget tonight. There is also investment for clean technology. On this side of the House, we know full well that we can build a strong, low emissions economy.
Interesting, Josh.
Mr. Speaker, this budget meets that challenge. We're here for this generation and future generations. We are investing in Canadian industry. The Honourable Member for Rosemont, La Petite Patrie. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers and Canadians are living
Yeah, I
through an
agree, Lou. Like
unemployment
there should be some
crisis.
sort of accountability for
There
just
is a
being
historic
allowed
high
to lie.
unemployment rates,
Like how are
especially
you
for
not
young
held
people.
accountable?
Yet this government wants to cut 40,000 public servants. Those are good unionized jobs. Good jobs for Canadians with families. And
Ryan, are you
Liberals
talking
want
about
to
the
cut those
creators or the
jobs.
people in
Each
Parliament?
of those public servants are providing services to Canadians and to Quebecers who need those services. During the election, the Prime Minister promised that he would cap the number of people employed by the public service, but not cut positions. Why is the Liberal government breaking its promise and cutting good jobs and services at a time when people need them the most? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for
I
his
agree,
question.
Ryan.
I would like to reassure all public servants that we believe that they are doing an incredible job. Let us all applaud them. These are Canadian men and women who go to work to serve Canadians. We appreciate their work. We value their work. Mr. Speaker, our plan will
Yeah, it's kind of wild that the public service can also have like negotiating unions on top of that. Especially, I mean, guys, I could go off about the Canadian teachers for a long time because they're 90% liberal and keep voting for liberal policies and won't even talk about immigration, which is the big thing that they're complaining about. I mean, oh, geez.
Mr. Speaker, the last budget of 2 years ago had a fiscal anchor of a deficit of less than 1% of GDP in future years and constantly declining debt to GDP ratios in subsequent years. This budget has a fiscal anchor of deficits averaging 2% of GDP over the next number of years and a rising debt to GDP ratio. Will the Finance Minister confirm that his fiscal anchor is weaker than the last Finance Minister's fiscal anchor?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of respect for my colleague, but he might have noticed that the world has changed, Mr. Speaker, and this is a new government. And Mr. Speaker,
Enough.
Mr. Speaker,
Enough with the new government. I can't believe they get away with that. Like, it's just, and then Fearless, thanks for saying that. I do agree. Thank you, Chris, for popping in. Happy to see you in the chat. But the thing is, when it comes to Canada-US relations, this is why I'm so frustrated, because I call out Canadians all the time. So actually, this is do you guys want to hear this story about I was almost selected for the jury for the high-profile hockey case? Did I ever tell you guys that on the channel? And I had to go sit there at the court for a full day, and then we had to come back just to see if we were going to get selected for the jury. But anyways, long story short, there was a lot of people in there. We were getting selected for the jury on the NHLers, hotel case. And the sentiment in that room with hundreds of people was just how much Canadians were better. Well, actually, sorry, Pierre's here.
His first budget speech, but he spoke for quite some time. And given this Liberal government is adding almost $10 billion to our national debt every hour, it must be the most expensive speech in the history of this parliament.
Minister for his first budget speech. It was a very long speech, and given that this government is adding about $10 million,
I knew she must have said, not billion. It had to be million.
I think we can say that while talk is cheap, it's very expensive when a Liberal finance minister does it.
Every dollar that the government spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians, and the more they spend, the more things cost. And that's why the Liberals doubled the cost of housing and lineups at food banks. And that's why we wanted an affordable budget for a more affordable Canada.
This government is the most expensive in Canadian history. Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians. The more they spend, the more things cost. And that's why Conservatives were calling for an affordable budget, for an affordable life, after Liberals doubled the cost of housing and doubled the lineups at our food banks.
Yes, Jordan.
Today, the Liberals
it's going to be probably the
have
highest
introduced the most costly deficit in the history of our country outside of COVID.
Exactly.
It will
like
generate higher costs for groceries.
Outside of COVID, this is going to be the highest deficit Canada has ever seen. And COVID's was insane, of course, but this is going to be the highest ever outside of COVID. But they keep saying, well, it's not the highest ever. And they try to say, oh, well, COVID's was crazy.
Groceries, housing, and for everything else.
What's going on, Greg?
Introduced the most costly and largest budget deficit in history outside of COVID. The cost of this Liberal budget will drive up the cost of food, housing,
yes, Ryan.
and
Still love your wife.
Canadians buy.
Don't let politics affect the marriage.
Every single promise he made just 7 short months ago. He promised a $62 billion deficit. He delivered nearly an $80 billion deficit. $16 billion bigger than he...
See, that's why I was also mad when CBC was trying to run cover. They're like, it's actually not too bad. It's only close to 80 billion. They said it was going to be 62. And we beat the numbers. We always beat the number they announced.
Promised, and twice the size that his predecessor left behind. He promised to lower the,
Very true,
the debt to GDP ratio. He raised it, and inflation along with it. He promised to spend
NDP
less.
gets promised free stuff, then they will sign off on the budget, no problem. Basically, I don't see the NDP holding out.
Per family in Canada, and that $90 billion, to the Prime Minister's heckles, is above and beyond the promised $16 billion that he says he will one day find. And if he doesn't find them, it will be over $100 billion in brand new spending to respond to the Prime Minister's heckles, Mr. Speaker. He also promised that he would invest more. His own budget document lays out a graph showing that every quarter of this year will see private sector business investment collapse.
So you got to remember, Steve, when it comes to 78 billion, there's a couple things that are like way different. This is so for Americans understanding how big 78, almost 80 billion is when it comes to deficit versus the US, your economy is 13 times ours. So basically, it's 78 billion times 13 if we want to keep the ratios similar. As well, population-wise, you guys are around 8 times as much. But the other thing is, the US being the global reserve currency inherently means more spending is required. Because when you have a global reserve currency, that money has to exist in the system for trade to even happen globally. And for money to get printed, most of it is done through borrowing, and then it is lent into the system, obviously. So basically, the USD and their sovereign debt is always going to be higher at a ratio, and it has to be to basically remain the world reserve currency. That's a very simple explanation, but that's why 80 billion is way more expensive than even times 13 in Canada, because the value of it being against our currency is way worse than USD, if that makes sense to you guys.
This costly budget forces Canadians to spend more on debt interest than on healthcare transfers.
Yep.
More than the government collects in GST. That means every dollar the Canadians pay in GST will go to bankers and bondholders instead of to doctors and nurses. All while he raises the industrial carbon tax on farm equipment and fertilizer and therefore food, on steel, concrete, and other industrial projects needed to build homes, a big tax increases on homes and food. Donc,
So, on behalf of Canadians who are already paying too much for the cost of this Liberal government to heat themselves, house themselves, and feed themselves, Conservatives will not be able to support this budget.
Instead, we will.
Yeah, I'd follow.
Our party wanted an affordable budget for an affordable life. And on behalf of all the Canadians who can no longer afford to eat, heat, or house themselves because of Liberal inflation, we Conservatives cannot support this costly Liberal budget.
So, Boreal State Blues, when it comes to sort of triggering an election, there's all sorts, like Canada's election system works very different to the United States. So there's actually a lot of things that can technically trigger an election, and prime ministers can step down. And there's even been theories that, Carney's going to leave early and all of these things. So like, it's so hard because it's in theory, it's a moving date on when elections can happen.
There is still time for the Prime Minister to do the right thing. We will put forward an amendment that will transform this policy by making Canada affordable again. It will get rid of the industrial carbon tax, cut the wasteful spending to bring down debt, inflation, and taxes. It will open our country up to opportunity by developing our prodigious resources, clear away bureaucracy to build affordable homes.
We want the Prime Minister to accept our amendment to make life more affordable for Canadians, to make their paychecks stronger and our economy more independent. That's the approach we're going to propose. We're proposing an economy that's more affordable for our young people, that is safer for seniors, and that protects Canada's promise for everyone who works hard.
Full future for our young people. We want homes, jobs, and hope. For our seniors, we want affordability, and we want for all Canadians who work hard to bring back the promise of Canada. Thank you very much.
Well, Bob.
And with that, Mr. Speaker, I move second by the member for Edmonton Gateway that the debate be now adjourned. Thank you.
Kevin. So, Bob, when it comes to not having a budget, this was unprecedented and it was moved. And then they specifically chose to now say that moving forward, the budget will be announced in the fall in November because they wanted to align with construction season. And there's an age-old saying in most of Canada. Canada's got two seasons. We've got winter and we've got construction, because basically most construction does not happen about Tree Fitty. So yeah, I personally think this was not good. This is actually a pretty devastating budget because I thought the 62 was going to be too high. Now getting 80, I had predicted, earlier that I thought it was going to be way higher than the 62 anyways. I thought it could be as high as 100. 80 is still insane. That's the thing. Like 80 is insane. And did you guys see that USD got stronger today? So USD got stronger today. Canada's CAD is probably going to get smoked. And it just keeps weakening against USD anyways. So, I mean, I honestly, there's so many questions on like how does Canada recover from this, and it's so difficult because the Canadian government, as it seems, is making the wrong choice on purpose. It's as if they are specifically choosing to do the wrong direction on almost every single decision. And then you go, well, if this is like purposefully the wrong choice, are you guys doing this on purpose? And is it because they want us to be a globalist state? Or is it because Mark Carney was brought in for the mergers and acquisitions angle of basically selling us off for parts to the United States? And at this point, I think it's hard to not think that we will get sold to the United States, whether it's piecemeal, because there's actually, I don't know if you guys know, but there's a bunch of stuff going on in Quebec right now for a possible resurgence in the separatist movement in Quebec. And if Quebec is to separate, and that's just been heating up recently, that's all really new. They're putting some new laws forward, doing all that stuff. But if this happens and Quebec actually does leave, it'll be tough to pass because immigration has just gotten so bad in Canada. But Boreal State Blues, 80 billion is not the total debt. That's just the annual deficit. Like 37 trillion is your total sovereign debt. Canada's total sovereign debt is a few $1 trillion. We could find out actually. Canada. Oh, what is that? Yeah, so when it comes to the debt, it's not 80 billion for the total. Our sovereign debt is 2.3 trillion of the actual total debt. So that would be the 37 trillion is compared to our 2.3, which again, your economy is 13 times ours. So it would be 2.3 trillion times 13, basically. Even though I guess it depends on what you want to compare against. You want to compare against population or you want to compare against economy. For me, production is way more important. So you guys are 13 times more productive than we are when it comes to the top line economy. So yeah, the 2.3 trillion versus 37 trillion versus, times 13, I guess, if you want to be more, yeah. So is that like do you guys think 2.3 trillion is still pretty low? Like, I think that's high, obviously, because in Canada, that's just like unheard of that we're dealing with that level of debt. Because again, once again, let's even 10x it and say that's 23 trillion. So then what's another 3? That's going to be 6.9, 69. Nice. So 23, 6.9, that's roughly 30 trillion. So if we do comparative to US numbers, it's roughly 30 trillion comparatively in our sovereign debt compared to your guys' sovereign debt. So it's not that far off. And the Canadian dollar is not a world reserve currency. So it's like, almost 30 trillion versus 37, and we're not a reserve currency. Yeah, the WEF and all of those globalist organizations are definitely infiltrating both the UK and Canada. And yeah, Sasquatch, that's the problem. Like, people, so it's funny, I guess, were all the Americans listening? Did you guys think that 80 billion was our total debt? That's just the 1 year single deficit, and that's why we got this trillion. But actually, there's another detail that I want to clear up from yesterday's video. All the Americans asked what a mortgage renewal was, and I'll probably say this in tomorrow's video too, because so many Americans were like, what do you mean your mortgage renews? Thanks, Mitch. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. Yes, and I agree with Mitch's comment there. To the US folks, we love you guys, and that's why I think we are building an awesome community here, because what we're doing on this channel is we're grouping the Americans who are interested and love Canada and going like, hey guys, clean up because we want to be friends. And then we're grouping the Canadians who love Americans. And it's like, hey, let's put these two groups together and be like, hey, here's the people who want to work together to build the stronger countries and build Fortress America, because there are millions of Canadians who love America. There are obviously millions of Americans who love Canada. But anyways, just specifically about mortgage renewals, because even a lot of Canadians don't understand the difference. So we're going to explain it for both sides. For those of you who don't know, I was a real estate agent. So pretty familiar, real estate investor as well. So very familiar with mortgages, real estate, and that side of investing. But in the United States, when you get a mortgage, it originates at a 30-year mortgage. You get a 30-year locked-in interest rate, and then that's locked in for 30 years. In Canada, you get a 30-year mortgage, but it has a renewal period, and on average, that renewal period is between 3 and 5 years. Well, we do have 30-year loans. They're just they're on a shorter renewal period. So basically, the actual life of the mortgage is 30 years, but it renews every 3 to 5 years. So you get a new interest rate on that 30-year mortgage every. Okay, Brian. Now we'll talk about the jury duty and the sentiment of the Canadians and the Americans, because that is important too. But let me finish the mortgage stuff just so everybody understands. Canada, or the US, gets 30-year locked-in rates. Canada only gets 3 to 5 year locked-in rates over a 30-year mortgage, which means essentially 100% of Canadian mortgages are variable rate mortgages, because no matter what, your mortgage essentially resets every 3 to 5 years, and you're just subject to whatever the current interest rates are, if that makes sense. Yeah, Josh, that's fine. We can keep. I'll have to get out of Ontario if to do that. So yes, exactly, Steve. So no, it sucks. So that's why Canadians are getting hit way worse on a mortgage renewal wave in Canada, because a lot of Canadians locked in rates really low during COVID, but now those same rates are resetting. So they might have had a rate at 2%. And now if they want to reset now, it's 4.09% in only a few years. And they made the purchase at the high price at the low rate. And now they're getting the high price with the high rate. And so that's what Americans don't understand about the renewal and why it's such an underlying economic risk to Canada's economy, is because in theory, every 5 years, 100% of mortgages basically their variable rate is reset. It could be less, because some people have 3 years, 5 years. Technically speaking, there are 10-year mortgages. Nobody gets them because they're just way more expensive from a rate. Like you pay, like sometimes it's like a 2% premium on top of whatever the posted rate is. So basically, long story short, that's the difference. And that's why when I was talking in yesterday's video and I was saying it's such a big deal that these Canadians, during all of these Indigenous land claims, why it matters that their mortgage is renewing is because if the 5 years is up and your mortgage. So Borrow State Blues, technically, yes, they can do an audit and make sure you still have the finances and make sure you still have your job. And then if they do that audit and they find that the information does not line up, they can do what happened to that guy who lost his land in the Indigenous land ruling. And what they do is they don't cancel your mortgage, but they say, we won't renew your mortgage. So now you're left in a situation where you have to, on your renewal date, you have to either refinance with a new bank, a new financial institution, or you have to find a way to pay off that loan. So essentially now, if a bank does not renew your mortgage, you have an outstanding loan balance that is owed against a property that the bank is now making a call for. They're calling in that loan saying, we will not provide you this loan anymore. You have to pay that to us. So hopefully you can get refinanced with another institution. But if you've lost your job, you can't refinance with another institution. You're only left with the option of selling or defaulting on the loan. So, yes, our corporate situation is really bad. But then I am going to tell the story about the case. So basically there was a bunch of NHL players and they were in an SA case. I was almost selected for the jury, but in that room it was me and then like randomly a ton of boomers. Yes, Sasquatch Chronicles, our mortgage situation sucks, and it sucks for lending too if you're trying to be an investor. There were conversations in this jury room, And I was hearing these people, and one guy specifically said, and this is the conversation that made me the most mad in this room. And he goes, "Oh, well, I got a property down in Arizona." And then he's like, and then I was talking to this American woman, and the American woman goes, "We love Canadians. You're just like us." And I'm like, yeah, well, that's a great thing for an American to say. And the Canadian telling the story goes, and I told her, "No, we're not. We're not like you at all. You guys are crazy down here. You guys got your guns and all the crime, and you got a corrupt government, and your president this and blah, blah, blah." And he said that an American woman came up to him and said, "Hey, thanks, like, you're welcome down here. We love Canadians." And his response as a Canadian was to say, "We're not like you at all. We're so much better than Americans." And the boomers he was telling the story to were like, "Yeah, you told her good. Like, you really stuck it to that American woman." And I was like, "What? How is that beneficial? How are you as a Canadian going down to the US and then telling Americans how dumb they are and how much better you are than them?" Like, that is like, it was the worst example of liberal arrogance that I'd seen. And I watched this happen, and I watched all the people around him basically say like, "Hey, that's like a good thing you did." And then they also were complaining about the gun laws. They said they were going down to the US and saying that they wanted guns banned in the US. And I was like, guys, you can't just go down and tell them to change their laws. This is why you're going to get everybody. This is the liberal arrogance that exists. I know, like, I got to catch up on the chat here because you guys had a lot of questions about the mortgages. But I do think for the Americans in the chat, that's why I was freaking out for that guy who lost his land or potentially is losing his land in that case, because there's a world where he can't refinance his home, and then nobody's able to buy the home, which is the biggest thing. Because if nobody can buy the home, that means he's left with the mortgage that he just owes the bank, which means he essentially would just be forfeiting the house unless he has money to pay off his mortgage. Yeah, I agree, Sasquatch Chronicles, and that's why specifically. Oh, also about the other guy who's going to lose his house. This is another thing that with the guy who was in the video, he's like, "Yeah, I'm about to lose my house," and then he has the audacity to be like, "I'm about to lose my house, but I'm not going to fight about the reconciliation because we can't talk about the natives because that's like a taboo topic." It's like, bro, if you're not going to fight for your own house, why am I going to fight for your house? Like, why am I expected to care about your house if you don't even care about losing your house? So anyways, I was a little annoyed, but the yeah, Sasquatch, that's very true. And when it comes to, look, the best way to actually combine the US and Canada is to make Canada a territory. There is no capacity in which making Canada a state makes sense, because all you'd be doing is welcoming in another California, and it would just be like a complete, like, it would be a blue sweep. Because even though we've got a lot of awesome real conservatives on the channel who come and they contribute and they're part of it, there's, I would say, 50% or higher of Canadian conservatives would probably be Democrats if Canada were to be accepted as a 51st state. So all of the liberals would, and then 50% of the Canadian conservatives. So the best way would be an economic union, essentially creating, yes, Puerto Rico, make Canada a territory, make Canada able to transact. And I think I might be able to go full stream here. There we go. Basically make it possible for Canada to transact in USD, a dollar for dollar exchange, everything like that. Create that where you guys have unlimited economic access to Canada. It breaks down almost all of the trade barriers, and we find a way to like actually have Canada be in an economic union. That's the only way that we can have that make sense. No way should Canada become the 51st state. Well, I mean, I think Canada offers a bit more than Puerto Rico. Yeah, Idaho would be great. And ironically, Idaho's like colder than most of Ontario. So the Canadians are like, you know, we got it so cold here. But that's another interesting thing that I think people forget. They're almost all of the border states, their northernmost point is way more north than our southernmost point of Canada. So, yeah, look, Claudia, of course, look, okay, first priority would be Canada being a sovereign country, being a strong country, but like, I just don't know how many people are left in Canada who are ready to fight for the nation of Canada as it should exist, with the legacy Canadians, with it being people from European backgrounds, all of those things. I just don't know how many people here are there for like the demographics to make sense anymore. That's like the hard thing. Obviously, I want Canada to be Canada. This is the thing about the world. Like, the diversity of the world is only cool and fun when countries are their own, you know, identities. So when you go to Japan, it's Japan. When you go to China, it's China. When you go to Italy, it's Italy. When you go to, I want to go to America and be like, this is America. I don't want to go to America, go to New York, and then have AOC bragging about how, oh, New York speaks over 100 languages. Like, oh, great. Somebody's clucking in my ear over here, and I don't understand what they're saying. And somebody's clucking in my ear over here, and I also don't understand what they're saying. This is a great way to build communities. Yeah, I do wonder, Boral State Blues, how like people are just voting for him as a communist too. But all right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here because we've been streaming for a couple hours now. Yeah, well, thanks, Sasquatch. I do keep looking into the problem is I called an immigration lawyer and I was like, "Hey, I'm Canadian, you know, but I'd like to move to America. What are some of the options?" And she basically said, well, you can marry an American. And I was like, really? And she's like, well, do you do any of these things? I was like, no. And then she's like, yeah, so it's going to be really tough if you just have to rely on the lottery. Because I like, obviously I wouldn't be doing any like H-1B pathways. There are like E2 investor visas and some other things I could do, but it'd be pretty wild. But for everybody who stuck through on the few hours stream, if you joined late, for anybody who sent a super chat, you guys rock. This was a really fun stream. The chat was really active. And the reason I like to stream sometimes too, instead of just putting out a video, is I like to be able to talk with you guys because the idea is I want to build that community. Like I said, Americans who like Canadians, Canadians who like Americans. And I think for the most part, a lot of us agree and want the same thing. So you guys absolutely rock. Thank you for watching. And